Good morning, everyone. Apparently, my twerking has caused a controversy. So, this live is going for catching the replay. I invite you to stay till the end. There's going to be a few things I'm talking about on this live, including I'm going to be talking about how twerking is a sacred act. I'm going to be talking about the difference between feminine and masculine spirituality and the differences. I'm also going to be doing a little history course on the female enlightened being, which is very much like she's naked and drinking blood out of a skull. And I'll be showing you some pictures about that too. So if you have not seen my twerking video, I was twerking and I was outside at a friend's place and there was a Buddha statue there. And the Buddha statue just happened to be there. And I actually commented, oh, wow, look, the juxtaposition of female enlightenment and masculine enlightenment. So for so long, there have been only male spiritual teachers that have been transmitting knowledge. But there has been lineages of feminine sacred practice. And a lot of that includes dance. Like there was temple dancing back in the days. And twerking, I know it seems like this really funny thing that it's like, people think it's like sexual. And yeah, it is sexual in a sense because you're like moving your sacrum, which is your sexual area. But guess what? 85% of our life force energy lives in our sacrum. So it lives in that part. So actually when you twerk, you get so much energy because you are it's like an engine there. So it's like you are moving this engine and awakening your energy, your life force energy. Now the issue is in society, there has been a huge distortion of sexuality. So when we think of pornography and prostitution and the sex trafficking that's happened, like people lose their lives for pornography. So if you support pornography in any way, I invite you to really take a look at that. So what my mission is about is how we can ignite pleasure and ecstasy and bliss and all of that within ourselves. We can become intoxicated. We don't need a visual, an outside thing or video of someone else to spark our own intoxication and pleasure. So one way you can do that is through twerking. And actually on Friday begins a course that I created called Intoxication. And it's all the ways to get high and feel pleasure. So why did I create that program? So I created Intoxication because, first of all, I am intoxicated on life all the time. Like just this morning, right before I got on this call, I was doing a breathwork practice that literally, like I was so intoxicated and high. Like I still feel it in my, like it's like tingling in my body. So you have access to that. I have access to that. We all have access to share joy and pleasure through our own personal practices. I can get high from going in the ocean, from dancing in the sunset. There's many, many ways to activate that. And in Intoxication, which begins Friday, actually I'm going to put in the link now. I really invite you to see, like, if you are suffering in your life in any way and not experiencing pleasure, instead of getting mad and triggered at others who are experiencing pleasure, you may think like, how can I ignite more pleasure within myself? We're here to enjoy life. Suffering is a choice. You choose everything about your life. You choose how you respond. You choose how you think about things. So if you are struggling in your life in any way, or you don't feel anything less, if you feel anything less than intoxication, it's your responsibility to create change in your life. And change can look like many different things, but one thing are the actions you're taking every day. So going back to the twerking video really triggered some people. And I even saw I lost some followers, which is fine. But it's just interesting how when we really look at pleasure and joy, it's interesting how people can really, I'm pinning this comment to the top I'm putting to join. It's funny how it can really trigger things inside of people because maybe that's something that wants to be initiated within them as well. Like sometimes when we get triggered, it's like, hey, pay attention. So let's talk a little bit about the juxtaposition of female spirituality, not female, feminine and masculine. So feminine spirituality is like pleasure and ecstasy and like bliss and experiencing the moments and almost unbridled pleasure and deliciousness. So what would that look like? That could look like twerking, right? Whereas, and then what happens is that energy moves. So that sacral energy moves, it moves up through your energy centers and you feel bliss and you feel radiance and you feel joy. Now, masculine spirituality, which trust me, I have gone long down the masculine spirituality path. I have been a monk. I have done Vipassana, which is 10 days of silence twice. I have very much withdrawn the senses and gone into emptiness to reach enlightened states. So there's not one path only. So there's not only the path of let me sit in meditation in silence and that's the way I'm going to become enlightened. It's one way, right? And that is the masculine way. It doesn't mean that women can't do it. Of course, women can do it too. But there's also the feminine way of enlightenment. And that's what a lot of like that video is about, like the twerking and the joy and the pleasure. And that's actually what the Intoxication program is about, which begins on Friday. So I want to show you these pictures of these ancient dakinis. Like these are from Tibetan Buddhism. These are images, very sacred images actually, of women who were considered wisdom keepers and spiritual beings as well, but the feminine version. So I'm going to flip my camera. So if you look here, see, she is a dakini and she is a transmission of wisdom. So if you look here in italicized, transmission of wisdom. And as you see, she is naked and she has a skull full of blood and she has a knife in her hand. And basically she is all about cutting out unconsciousness, right? So this is a very spiritual image that is of feminine enlightenment. So it doesn't mean that only a Buddha sitting in a Buddha pose is enlightenment or spiritual, right? There's many forms. So even, let's go to the Vajra Yogini. I'm going to turn this again. So the Vajra Yogini is enlightened female energy. And if you see here, she is in the middle of this star and she's dancing, drinking blood out of a skull. Okay? So from very ancient times, there have been these feminine beings that enlighten and awaken people through their sexual energy. Sexual energy is very pure and innocent, and it's something that we all have. So it's very important to not judge. Are there toxic ways that feminine energy is being exploited in the world? Absolutely. And as I mentioned, through pornography and through prostitution when it's not the woman's choice, right? Women are kidnapped every day for those things. It's terrible what's happening, right? But then when we look at women who are choosing control and choosing to share their sexuality in a way that awakens consciousness, that is when, so for example, we look at even some like of these rap artists, like even like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, they have chosen, like, this is how I want to share my sexuality with the world. And what it's done is it's actually, though you may not agree with how they do it, that's okay if you don't agree with it. But what it's done is it has sparked feminine empowerment for liberation of sexual energy that the woman can decide to do on her own. And when we move our sacral area, we get so high. So, sorry, someone just called me. So we get so high from moving that part of our bodies that it's really important to remember that there are many ways to reach bliss and enlightenment. So actually, I'm going to go back to that first mandala because these are considered mandalas. And that is, so if you look here, this Dakini mandala is the gateway to celestial bliss. So this is the gateway to celestial bliss. Okay? So I felt it's very important to share this because spirituality has many forms. And having gone the route of withdrawing the senses and sitting in meditation and silence and stillness, I now choose a path that's more about pleasure and intoxication and awakening the senses. And that's what Friday is all about. So it's a 44-day program. It's called Intoxication. I invite you to join me. It's going to be all on a Facebook group. So in that people are calling me right now. It's like, stop calling me. So in that Facebook group, it's totally anonymous. So obviously you're just, you can stay private, and it's going to be video broadcasts. There's 10 modules. They're about an hour long each. The modules are like sex, drugs, rock and roll, twerking, jujitsu, and surfing is one module. And it's really going to be so pleasurable and so entertaining. And I even made the joke that it's like better than therapy, because right now a lot of people are suffering and I feel like they're blaming the world. And this is an opportunity to put your happiness and your pleasure and your joy in your hands. So I've pinned the link here. I invite you to join me. I invite you to ask me any questions. If you have any questions right now, I'm happy to answer them. And I also invite you to go, if you didn't see the twerking video, go watch it. And I invite you to see what it ignites within you, because it was totally coming from a place of pure pleasure and pure innocence. And really is a way, and the whole day, actually, I was with friends, and the whole afternoon I was twerking and moving, and it was so fun. And it was just a way to actually share that with all of you, because I was doing it with my friends and they were just giggling and laughing just as I was. And I think it's important that we actually move our sexual energy, because it is where our life force lives. And doing it in healthy, constructive ways through certain kinds of movement are all very important. So I thank you all for being here. If you have any more questions, please connect with me. You can DM me. I love you. Thank you for being here. And cheers to enlightenment, and enlightenment through pleasure. Sending love.